So hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm actually talking about a film where, for those who know who Roger Ebert is, he was a beloved film critic back when he was alive. He ran the Siskel and Ebert show, the Ebert and Roper show. Um, Very famous person, very famous film critic. And so the thing with Roger Ebert is he always had his signature two thumbs up tagline along with Gene Siskel. And obviously that continued on to with Richard Roper when he became his co-star later on. And after Gene Siskel passed away and all that stuff. But outside of his two thumbs up tagline, another famous quote from him you could say is, I hated this movie. And that actually came from a review he did for the film North. And so in today's video, I'm actually going to be reviewing the film North, the film that caused Roger Ebert to come up with that quote of how much he didn't like the movie. And if you watch, you can still find it on YouTube. If you watch his review of North, if my computer's not being stupid here, there we are. You can actually see his Siskel and Ebert North review. You could just type that in on YouTube, and I'm sure you can find it. But yeah, he did not like this movie at all. I think he even went on record during the show, during that episode, that this is easily one of the worst films he's ever had to review professionally, and possibly one of the worst films he's ever had to view over the course of his life. And so with that kind of being said, I always kind of wanted to watch this movie for myself and see if it really was that bad. And I am happy to report that it is kind of that bad. So I'm going to talk about North for you guys today. I'm going to give you a plot, my thoughts on it, and basically let you know why Roger Ebert wasn't wrong about that. So I guess if you don't know anything about North, it came out in 1994. It was directed by Rob Reiner, who's known for making really good movies. But for some reason, he wanted to really do this one in the mid-90s. And I'm kind of, along with many other people, I'm kind of scratching my head, figuring out what exactly persuaded him to pursue this project more than anything else. With A Few Good Men, This Is Spinal Tap, Misery, Princess Bride. This guy has tons of great films on his record, and to this day, I still don't know what compelled him to want to make this film in particular. And it has a lot of celebrities in it, too. That's another thing I'm going to go over is there is a ton of celebrities that agreed to be in this movie, kind of like the movie 43, for those who remember that. Like, you just don't know how all these great celebrities agreed to such a terrible project. So let's kind of go over some things about North. So if you don't know anything about it, it's essentially about a young boy. He's played by Elijah Wood, going back to the many celebrities. He's played by Elijah Wood, and he has these parents that he really does not like being around. He's an A-plus student. Everybody in the community loves him. He participates in school plays and sports, and he's basically everything that a parent would probably want for their kid. A lot of success, a lot of community love, very successful. And so one day he just kind of has it. He just does not want to be around them. He does not want them as his parents. So he gets a hold of this journalist who's basically this young kid just like he is. And he claims that he knows this lawyer that can basically get North out of having that as his parents and basically look for a new adoptive parents that would fit his needs better. And so over the course of this movie, North keeps going from parents to parents to parents all over the world because everybody apparently wants to have him as their kid. And over the course of this movie, North realizes that maybe this choice of looking around for new parents just because he has problems with his current ones might have been a mistake. So unfortunately, you guys, like I said, this is a really bad movie. I am going to try to go over some things that are at least kind of okay about it. But for the most part, this is not a good movie at all. I guess as far as getting positives out of the way, some of the set design is pretty decent. Like there's scenes where North is, trying to adapt to a different country, and they have, like the temples, or they have, like when they're shooting out in Texas and stuff, they have the big, wide, open ranges and stuff like that. When they go to Hawaii, obviously that looks really nice as well. But for the most part, unfortunately, great set design will not save a movie. And I would say this is just more so decent set design. Like it fits what they were going for. Even though I'm sure some of it, if not all of it, was done on a set, I'm sure. But at least that aspect was decent. I also thought the character they gave Bruce Willis was a lot of fun, even though there is a lot of stuff in here that he has to do that is really kind of stupid. Like there is a scene where he has to dress up as an Easter bunny and he's eating a carrot while just kind of listening to North. There's like a scene where he's like a successful stand-up comedian, yet all the jokes he's throwing at the audience are not funny at all. But for the most part, I do like this idea of like this guy that looks familiar to North, but he's always a different person every time he goes to a different part of the world. For the most part, I bet Bruce Willis had a lot of fun with it because every time I'm sure he went to the set, he got to play a different character. So I'm sure that aspect of the role was fun for him. I'm sure he looked at the script and be like, "Ooh, I don't want to touch that." But for the most part, they did give him a fun role. But like I said, there is some dumb things along the way, like him playing an Easter Bunny that really is not very smart. And for my next point, it's more so a positive and a negative. Like it's a positive because if they did it right, it would have succeeded in the long term for the movie. But because it is also a negative, it also is going against this movie because the way they pursued it wasn't the right way. And my next point is that they tried to tell this story from a child's point of view, and it's tried to be told from the viewpoint of a child too. And like I said, if it was a better script, if it had a better vision for the movie, I'm sure this would have worked out better. But for the most part, it just does not work out at all. Um, it just really is just kind of off-putting. There's just a lot of things about it. Where it's just like I'm sure this 5-year-old at this random part of the world fantasize about this one thing at one point in their life, but like watching it as an adult, it's just like that really just does not rub me the right way. So there's just a lot of weird things about it that just really are not very engaging. But for my negatives of North, and I have quite a bit, I'm sure Roger Ebert has even more than what I have, but nothing felt real or believable to me. Almost everything felt like it was like in a part of an alternate universe. It didn't feel like the Earth that we live in. It felt like even though there's places like Hawaii and Texas and Alaska and all this other stuff, nothing felt like it belonged in our world. And I guess that's one of the bigger complaints I had about this movie is nothing felt real, nothing felt believable. It just didn't feel like the reality that we know. And I guess that's just a big negative for this movie, just because as a result, everything doesn't feel believable. Everything doesn't feel like it could belong in our reality, and it just doesn't work for the movie that they're trying to tell. So it feels like an alternate universe, and that's a really off-putting quality to this movie. I also thought just the overall story concept was just terrible and inhumane. Just this idea of, oh, I don't like how my parents are doing these weird things during dinner time. I want to throw them away and just go all over the world and see if there's somebody that's eligible of my abilities and stuff like that. It's just like that's such, especially for like this young boy. It just felt like a very off-putting story concept to me. And I can definitely see why Roger Ebert hated this film as much as he did. And overall, this film just makes you feel really gross. You're exposed to these really bad stereotyping. Like there's this rich Texas guy that eats everything in sight, and there's they try to explain how like the Alaska get rid of their older people and stuff. And there's a scene where like when he's trying to get the Hawaiian parents, like they're trying to convince him that doing this really terrible billboard will allow more tourists to come to Hawaii and respect it more, and just all this stuff that just really just kind of makes you feel kind of gross. I just kind of wanted to take a long shower after seeing this movie just because I was exposed to such terrible stereotyping that really aged really, really badly. It was not acceptable back then, but it's really not acceptable now. It just kind of felt gross, and I just didn't like the way the film made me feel about those things. And overall, there's really no good jokes in the movie. The jokes are just terrible and flat. And like I said, because it is being tried to be told by a child, it just doesn't feel it. There's nothing on it that makes you go on board with what they're doing. And that's just another bad quality of the movie is it just feels terrible and flat and not very engaging. Also, the green screen effects and the few special effects we see throughout the movie are really quite bad. One that really stood out to me, and a friend that was watching this movie with me pointed out too, the scene where him and Bruce Willis are talking on a toboggan in Alaska, when they're riding by like all the snow hills and stuff, really does not look real at all. It really does feel like something you'd see in a studio with studio lighting and stuff like that. It just really did not feel real to me. and just the green screen effects just didn't feel believable at all to me. And overall, I thought this film was just an overall waste of a good cast and a good director. Like Elijah Wood is a good actor, Bruce Willis is a good actor, Julia Louis-Dreyfus is a good actress, Jason Alexander is a good actor, um, Jon Lovitz is a good actor, Rob Reiner is a good director. There's just so many people that got involved with this, and I didn't even mention everybody that was involved with this because there is so many celebrities. Um, it just felt like a waste. It just felt like everybody involved just didn't want to be there. It didn't feel real, and it just felt like a wasted opportunity. I really hope Rob Reiner does not make another misstep like this ever again. So that's my thoughts on North. As far as ratings go, I probably am going to give it a 1 out of 10. It really is not a good movie. I totally understand why Roger Ebert hated it. So for those who've never seen North, it came out in 1994. I'm sure you can find it on Amazon somewhere. Um, 1 out of 10, not a good movie, and just kind of a film that makes you feel kind of gross as a result. But didn't like this movie at all. Totally understand the hype and the negativity behind it. And yeah, so if you ever want to make yourself feel gross, I guess North is the way to do it. So 1 out of 10 for me. I do not recommend this movie.